What a beautiful way to be ushered into worship. We are glad that each of you has joined us. Good morning. We are Elizabethtown Church of the Brethren, where we practice peace, service, and openness to all each and every day. We are so glad you've joined us, whether you're here in our own backyard or around the world. We welcome you here. Good to have you with us. We are the pastoral team, Pastor Jason, Pastor Greg. Pastor Josh is out on paternity leave right now, and that's pretty exciting news around here. Our summer ministry intern, Alex, is here. Pastor Eric Landrum from Lidditz, the Lidditz congregation. And we've got a great tech crew up there this morning making this all happen. We have Herb and Pat and Jerry, and we thank you for your work here, making this a success. A few announcements. I have an announcement about school backpacks. Church World Service collects money every year to make these happen so that children have backpacks, especially refugee children. The money is due by August 14th. That's this Friday, so you want to do this quickly, but it's a way that we can make a difference right here in our community. You can mail a check to the church, put CWS Backpack Collection on it. You can drop a check off in the narthex, place it in the office mailbox. You can also use your credit card and debit card to help underwrite the cost of this. Witness Commission will take this money then and buy as many supplies as they can to make the first day of school a success for the children that are here. And so we thank you in advance for your involvement there. I think we have some more announcements. Jason?
Indeed. Just a couple announcements this morning. I'm caught. We had another great adult Sunday school class this morning. Kate Good from the Parish Resource Center joined us and got to share about that organization. And I think we all learned a lot about the scope and the breadth of what that group does. So if you'd like to check that out and learn more, you can always go to our website under online events. It's right there on the homepage. You can click that button and it'll take you to our online events calendar. And you can find any links to past Sunday school classes and some information for upcoming online events. So make sure you check that out. A reminder that all of these adult Sunday school classes and the Bible school, the Bible study that happens on Thursday is open to everyone. And we want you to join us for that. It's not just for Elizabethtown Church of the Brethren. We've had people joining us from all over for those. So we invite you to feel free to join us for that Sunday school class that happens every Sunday and for our adult Thursday Bible study that happens every Thursday at 1. That will continue to be walking through the Sermon on the Mount. We've had some really great conversations about that the last couple weeks, and we're going to continue doing that with John David Bowman this coming Thursday. Next Sunday, we're continuing with our adult Sunday school class, where our guest is going to be joining us all the way from Nigeria. Sharon Flotten will be joining us. She's a Bethany student, and she's been living in Nigeria now, and we'll share a little bit about her experience. And the following week, David Steele, who is the General Secretary of the Church of the Brethren, will be joining us for Sunday school. So you're going to want to check out those two upcoming events. Briefly, one more announcement, and that is about some youth things that are happening. Junior high is meeting today for our hike. We've heard from a number of people. We're going to be meeting here in the parking lot at 2 o'clock, so make sure you join us for that, junior high youth. And also, for all of you, we are doing a fundraiser next week, trying to raise some money for NYC, our National Youth Conference. And what we'd ask you to do is, if you're interested, to come to the church between 1 and 3. We're going to be providing some things that have frozen meals, like lasagna that have been made, or soups, and perhaps some bread and some other baked goods. So if you're looking for something to eat next week, feel free to stop by the church between 1 and 3 and support your youth. I think that's all I got.
All right. Unfortunately, people can't do that virtually, Jason. No virtual lasagnas. That's too bad. Well, this is the second week in our Sermons on Demand series, and I am pumped about today's demand. The question that was put to me was this: how will the pandemic change the church in the U.S.? And how will it change this congregation. Actually, the person who put this in said, "I dare you, Pastor Greg, to take this on." Well, it didn't quite raise to the level of a double dog dare, but it didn't have to, because I think this person knows me well enough to know that I'm not just going to let a dare lie there. And so we're going to tackle this. And because it's more important now than ever to think about what we're doing and how what we do now may set up the church for tomorrow. How do we equip ourselves now so that the church will be a place of welcome, peace, service, and openness to all, as we say around here? Because we do know this: the church will change forever because of this pandemic. What are we going to do about that? And the phrase of the day is this, and I'm going to say it over and over again. Predicting rain doesn't count. Building arks does. Welcome to worship, everybody. We're glad that you are here, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. Welcome to worship.
Hello and good morning. As we begin worship today, our call to worship, I invite us to think about the word church. We say it all the time, and we live our lives as we know what it means. We know what the church is. And I think that when we think of the word church, we often think of it as a noun. It's a place that you go. It's a building. It's the entire body of believers. But I wonder if for today we think about church as a verb. Church is something that means action. Church as a behavior. Church as a way of modeling our lives, living out our lives. Perhaps church was never really meant to be defined by a building or an address or even a zip code. Church as a noun is helpful for some sense of identity. But we can get caught up in other churchy nouns, things like pew or organ, hymnal, pulpit, etc., etc. But church as a verb is essential for how we model our mission. It's how we live out in discipleship. And it is concerned with a far different list of words. Action words: love, sent, feeding, sheltering, reaching, visiting, caring, listening, respecting, and restoring. I like this idea of church being something more than just a noun, but church is something that we are becoming and something we are being. Will you pray with me as we center our hearts and our minds this morning on the action of the verbs of the church today? Will you pray with me? God of action, God of vigorous verbs, we have gathered here to seek your movement in our living, to run when you run, to walk when you walk, to rest when you rest, to serve as you serve. Move us, O God, beyond the simple comforts of nouns into a discipleship that is on the go. May we respond to your calling to heal, to comfort, to transform and serve our communities. For we pray in the name of Jesus, a man of action, the one that preached, proclaimed, restored, challenged, and enacted your very reign here on earth. Amen.
In this place, your light is streaming. Now is the lost and forsaken. Gather us in, the blind and the lame. Call to us now, and we shall awaken. We shall arise at the sound of our name. We are the young, our lives are a mystery. We are the old who yearn for your face. We have been sung throughout all of history, called to be light to the whole human race. Gather us in, the rich and the haughty. Gather us in, the proud and the strong. Give us a heart so meek and so lowly. Give us the courage to enter the song. Here we will take the wine and the water. Here we will take the bread of new birth. Here you shall call your sons and your daughters. Call us anew to be salt for the earth. Give us to drink the wine of compassion. Give us to eat the bread that is you. Nourish us well and teach us to fashion lives that are holy and hearts that are true. Not in the dark of buildings confining, not in some heaven light years away, but here in this place the new light is shining. Now is the kingdom, now is the day. Gather us in and hold us forever. Gather us in and make us your own. Gather us in, all peoples together. River of love in our flesh and our bones.
Eric, we got to get going. Eric.
Yes, yeah, I'm
Come
coming.
on, hurry up. Time machines don't wait on everyone, you know.
I know. They're always zipping here and zipping there, but you know, we got a lot of kids. They got a lot of questions.
Okay, yeah, we got.
So we've heard quite a few things.
we got work to do here. Another day, time traveling, you and I.
So they want to know,
Yeah.
what was the church like
Yeah.
way back when?
Yeah. And you know what I thought?
What?
While we are going way back when, I know we don't usually go into the future, but
Ooh.
we should maybe check out what the church is like in the future too.
I like that idea.
Okay, so I was thinking if we're going to go way back when, I was thinking this old meeting house kind of thing.
Okay.
And I thought that we would go there, but I wasn't sure how we'd fit in. And
Now,
that's-
meeting house, like for the kids, what they're going to want to know what that was.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They'll have it's like a small simple church, but I was
yeah.
worried that we're gonna stand out. So I thought, call me crazy, but what I'm gonna do is I want to try and dress the part for like this old like Anabaptist kind of brethren look. I got this coat here.
That's good for research. That's very good
I got this
for
coat here,
research.
and I gotta shave my mustache off. It's what they do.
You're going to shave your mustache?
Yeah,
You've worked for like 6 days to grow that thing out.
I know. Well, it takes time to do that. So anyway, what are some questions that you're thinking would be?
Okay, so
good.
well, here's some of the questions that we got from some of the kids. Okay, so they want to know what the music was like. Okay, and what was the actual building like? You know, what were the things they were talking about? What were kids doing in that space? What were they up to? So I mean, that's just to name a few. I mean, we got a lot of work. You're gonna have to shave a little closer. If you
I know. I'm working on it.
I know you've got a ways to go. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that there's a lot of data we need. I mean, they've got a lot of great questions about that. There we go. Now you're looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is it authentic looking?
It's so authentic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I have a coat to wear. All right. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay. Are we gonna, like, we have to actually travel? Are we gonna start the car? I mean, we got to start
Okay,
the
I
time
forgot. We got to
machine.
go. Hey, you fire it up. I'm going to keep.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Can't say, yeah, crank this up. Okay, what year? Okay, let's go back. Let's just say 100 years. Let's just go with 100 years.
All right, let's do it.
That'll be a while back. Okay,
Let's
ready?
go.
All right, here, you hit your button because
Okay,
I
ready?
can't. Yep.
Beep, beep, beep.
Go.
Beep.
I've gotten a lot better at this, but it's still.
Never
right.
gets old, man. Never gets old.
All
Okay,
right.
so I'll see you in a little bit. I think the worship services, I don't know how long they go, a couple hours probably.
Okay.
So have fun, hang out.
Hang out. A couple hours. Man, the tape deck's broken on this thing. All right, let's see. Well, he did a surprising job not getting hair everywhere. All right, so here's what we'll do. We'll just time travel. I'll go grab a coffee or something. So let me go and do that. Okay. Yeah, I'll take a, just give me a grande. Okay, thank you. All right. Let's see. Okay. Now let's go back. Let's see. What was that, 100 years? 105 years? I can't remember. Oh boy, he could spend a long time there if I don't remember. Let's go 100 years. Okay. Okay. I think we're right. This doesn't look like the time I had to return the dinosaur egg. Hey! 2 hours. I was just waiting here was just brutal. It was
Well,
so
that
brutal.
was interesting. That service was interesting.
So tell me about it.
Well, first of all, it turns out I'm dressed like a preacher, a minister. So there was a little
so they
confusion there when we showed up.
Okay, that meant.
Look, I'll say this: it was. I mean, I could really. It was a good community feel. Like I felt that the people were authentically. You know, I could see that they were trying to be like Jesus. It was great. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Not really my style of worship, though.
Oh no! What about the music?
Well, there was no like piano, no organ,
What?
no drums, there was nothing in there. It was pretty bare. I mean,
Oh,
good
come on
voices.
now. Maybe you just didn't see it.
No, it's good voices though.
Oh, that's good. Good harmonies. That's good.
Yeah, you know, it was kind of slower, longer, a little more boring.
Oh, a little boring. Okay.
But again, good people. You know, overall, it was enjoyable to be a part of that community.
Okay.
But again, not really my cup of
Not
tea
your
for
thing.
worship.
Not your
at
thing.
all.
Okay. Are you going to keep wearing that?
No, I'll take it off.
I think you should keep wearing
Okay,
it.
I'll keep wearing it.
Yeah, I think Ashley
All
would
right, so we better go forward in time.
All right. How far?
I don't know. Let's go. Beep, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, boop.
All right. Are we there?
Okay, here we are in the
Look at all
future.
this. Whoa. Is that a flying car?
Hey, you go. I'll stay here.
Yeah, I'm going.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go. I'm going to go check out this church.
Okay.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right. I wonder how long this is going to take. Well, what am I going to do? I'm in a time machine. Beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, boop. All right. Eric should be back any second now because I just flew forward in time. Wait a minute. Oh, this isn't right. Beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, boop. Okay, I think we're back now. Phew. Eric,
Where have you been?
what do you mean? Where have I been?
I've been here for 4 years.
4 years?
Where have you been?
No, what year is it? Oh, we probably should have clarified what the year was.
Heather's probably worried sick.
Okay. Well, do you remember 4 years
All right,
ago
we
you were
can-
going to visit a church?
Yeah.
What was
yeah.
it? Tell me
I've
a
been
little-
going. By the way, like
I've been going.
pop collars, they're back in the future.
That's cool.
Consider that a warning. They're
That's
back.
cool.
Yes. I'm going to put this down. So
Are jeans still popular?
apparently, yes.
Oh, that's
I mean,
great.
these never go out of style.
Clearly.
We know that. Yeah, they
Good to
never
know.
go out of style.
So yeah, what was
Wow. Okay, so the music was super different. Like it was
Okay.
very different. But the thing that was really kind of like it took me a while to get used to was that not everybody was like actually worshiping in that space. There were like holograms of people everywhere. So
Holograms?
they were
That's
there,
awesome.
but they weren't there, right? It was like a cool like blue screen, right? And
Wow.
so but the cool thing was they were talking about someone in the church that was sick. And how everybody was going to go and take care of the person. Like that was their main focus. So like you were saying, 100 years ago, it felt really authentic. It looked very different. The music was a little strange, but
Were they singing?
they were singing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know any of the
It was like a
songs?
really cool like robotic sound. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. It was
Did you know any of the lyrics?
not a single one.
Okay. You were
Not
there
a
for 4
single
years.
song.
Did you learn any by the end?
Not a single one.
Okay.
Yeah, so nor am I going to sing any that I learned. But anyways, no, it was really kind of cool because
Great.
they were still being the church.
All right.
You know, they were taking care of sick people. And so even though there were the cool holograms and not everyone was there, it still felt very churchy.
Huh. So it sounds like even if you go way back in time, or if we go forward in time, there are different ways of doing church, but it seems like there are still ways to be authentic followers of Jesus, you know, despite different ways of doing worship or different ways of organizing yourself, huh?
Right. This is a lot of good data for the kids, I
Right.
think, that,
Well,
you know, we could take it back, like say, hey, you know, church isn't always going to look the same, but that's okay.
yeah.
You know, the message of Jesus is the same. You know, we're still, just like the churches in the past and the future, they're still taking care of their neighbors. They're taking care of the sick. They were still feeding the hungry in the future. It was really fascinating. But you know what I've learned, especially today? I'm really glad you didn't leave me for 4 years in the Jurassic period.
That would have been rough.
That would have been awful, Jason.
Well, you probably would have liked it, though.
And out of all this time, your mustache still didn't grow back.
Well, you know how laws like this work is that for me it just passed instantaneously. For you, not so much.
All right.
But question: were mustaches in the future or no?
Yes.
Oh shoot!
Really big bushy ones, curly ones. So,
Too bad.
all right. So I have one request as we
Yeah.
as we wrap up our data here. Can we jump to the point when Toy Story 15 is debuting in theaters?
I don't think that's part
I
of
really want to see that.
Eh.
Oh come on, Toy Story 13, 14 were so good. We got to go see Toy Story 15.
You got to see him?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I borrowed the keys one
Look,
night.
we'll have to try another time. Let's get out of here.
Okay. All right.
Boop, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, 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 boop.
Oh. We're back.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a little bit hard to follow the authentic shaving of a mustache, but we do come to our time of prayer, and we have joys and concerns that we can share with you. We certainly a joy this week is the birth of a new baby. Joanna Elizabeth Tyndall was born to Pastor Josh and Elizabeth this week. Joanna had a little trouble with breathing and was in the NICU. She continues there, but according to Mama last evening, she's doing much better. And so for that, we are grateful and we rejoice in this beautiful new life. We also want to remember folks who are ill among us. We think especially of Marie Williams, and for those grieving, the Heckman family, the Bierbauers, Nornhold family, and also the Crack family. And we also acknowledge that today marks the 75th anniversary of the nuclear bombing on Nagasaki, and we remember our BVS workers there in the Friendship Center as peace witnesses. And so for all of these things, we ask, Lord, hear this prayer. We're going to enter into a time of silence and then spoken prayer. As I thought of the theme this morning about pandemic, I went back to a prayer that I found early in this experience, way back in April, I think. In fact, some of you sent this prayer to me. It's a beautiful prayer, and I thought, I wonder how much has changed since April and where we are today in August. And so I've rewritten the prayer a bit, but the prayer hasn't changed all that much. But we have changed. So I invite you to join me in prayer. Oh God, hear our praise song for the pandemic. Praise be the nurses and doctors and every medical staff bent over flesh to offer care, for lives saved and those lost, and for showing up either way these many long months. Praise for the farmers tilling the soil, planting seeds, now harvesting crops so that food can grow, an act of hope if ever there was one. Praise be the janitors and sanitation workers, grocery store clerks, delivery drivers, barreling through long, quiet nights to provide essential goods. Praise be the bus drivers, postal workers, and those who monitor water, gas, and electricity. Praise be the teachers among us, flexible to provide new ways of learning, eager to discover how this education of our children and youth will happen this fall, and blessings on parents holding it all together. Blessed are those in grief, especially who mourn alone. Blessed are those who have passed from life to life. Blessed are the elderly and those with weakened immune systems, all those who worry for their health, and those who stay at home and have found creative ways to protect them. Blessed are the ones whose jobs are lost, who have no savings, who feel fear for the unknown gnawing. Blessed are the poets and artists, the singers and storytellers, all who nourish with words and sound and color. Thanks for the therapists and counselors of every kind, bringing words of hope and comfort. Thanks for our ancestors, O God, for the wars and the plagues that they endured and survived, whose resilience is in our very bones and blood. Blessed is the air clearing overhead so that one day we can breathe deeply again. Thanks for the water that flows over our hands and the soap that helps keep them clean, each time a baptism. Whisper a prayer for those who have neither clean water nor soap. Praise for the seas and the rivers, the forests and the stones, and all of creation that teaches us to endure. Praise be the birds who continue to sing the sky awake each morning. Praise for the beauty of summer flowers unfolding in colors beyond our imagination. Praise every moment of stillness and silence so new voices can be heard. Praise the chance at slowness and clearness of thought. And when all of this has passed, may we say, O God, that love spread more quickly than any virus ever could. May we say that this was not just an ending, but also a place to begin. Praise for new beginnings. We are becoming your beloved community. Amen. As we come to our time of offering, we remember the many connections that we have with our brothers and sisters in Nigeria. In our congregations, we have children who were raised in Nigeria as children of missionaries. We have sponsored many work camps and work groups and sent support and walked alongside our brothers and sisters there during the insurgency. And so it's very appropriate that our witness challenge during this pandemic related to Nigeria. Let's watch, we have a film with Amy Carr, chair of our Witness Commission, and also Sister Rebecca Dali of Nigeria, and now of the U.S. Let's roll it.
Hi everyone, it's Amy Carr from the Witness Commission, and I am here to report our total amount of miles walked for the Walk to Nigeria. We have walked a total of 12,686 miles, which is a huge accomplishment and essentially had us walk to Nigeria and back. So we've also raised some much needed funds for SEPI. So we want to just thank everyone for participating in our walk to Nigeria. We hope you all enjoyed it. We appreciate your participation, and look out for the future. We'll hopefully be able to continue to do things like this that can help bring us together even while we were still apart. Thanks everyone.
I am Dr. Rebecca Samuel Daly, founder and executive director of Center for Caring, Empowerment and Peace Initiative. I am making this video to express my profound gratitude to the leadership and Witness Commission of Elizabethtown Church of the Brethren. Thank you so much for initiating work to Garkida and back to the U.S. as a way to raise funds for SEPI. I also thank the numerous friends, brothers and sisters in Christ who participated in the work and those who prayed and donated money. The money raised will be used either for continuing training at the SEPI 5 Skill Acquisition Center for empowering widows and the most vulnerable and orphaned, or the money could be used to start the building of SEPI Agape Institute, or provide food and other relief material for those who are affected by COVID and those displaced by Fulani herdsmen. However, I will appreciate if the Witness Committee and Board of SEPI can suggest how best the money could be used. Thank you so much again. May the Lord continue to keep you safe and bless you and your family. Amen.
Wow, what a privilege to be able to be part of all these things we've heard Dr. Rebecca talk about. We will hear more about that institute. I think that's, we've just begun. You know, you heard over 12,000 miles, over $2,500, and hundreds of walkers. And Rebecca's looking really good because she has been our most avid and enthusiastic walker, and certainly has become very fit in the process, as we all have. A wonderful way to celebrate a time when we're apart, and also when we can join together for an effort like this. Thank you all for your generosity. It's making a difference in a land where there are many, many needs, and where clean water and soap are not as available as we have it. So thank you to each of you for your contributions.
Well, like I said earlier, as the quote goes, predicting rain does not count. Building arks does. So to answer this question of how the pandemic will change the future of the church in America, and maybe even our congregation more specifically, we're not just talking about a mental exercise. What we're actually doing is preparation. And so this morning, here's what I want to do. I want to give three things. I want to give a kind of a state of the church update. What's the congregation in E-Town looking like? And what's our online community, you all, wherever you are? What does that look like? Next, I want to make some bold predictions. And I've been watching a lot of sports talk radio, so I'm really getting the hang of this making bold predictions kind of thing. And third is I want to talk about what might be next for us, not only as E-Town congregation, but as our larger worshiping community and the church in the United States. So, first, we get this question a lot. How is the church doing these days? Well, the short answer is that the church is doing exactly what we hope it would do, and really what it should do in situations like this. We are adapting, we are innovating, and we are doing this in order to live out our mission of peace, service, and openness to all. That's what we're doing. And so programmatically, we hope you noticed Pastor Jason gave a really clear explanation that programmatically, we are offering all kinds of things, and that's not just for those of you who normally attend E-Town, it's for you no matter where you are. Adult Sunday school, Bible study, small groups, anti-racism reading circles. We have physically safe in-person and virtual youth activities. We have support groups. All of those things just keep trucking right along, and many of them have been initiated since the pandemic began. And then, though it's been challenging to do things like our biannual food drive, we've impacted the local food bank here in Elizabethtown tremendously, and I'm guessing you have as well, no matter where you're at, in the communities you're at. We've always encouraged you to support things locally, no matter where you live. Together, we were able to do this walk to Nigeria that Pastor Pam was just talking about, that we celebrated all those miles, all that money, in this virtual walk together. And we know that people from coast to coast were participating in that. All the while, we continue to attend to the needs of our spiritual community here in Elizabethtown and beyond. And for us here in E-Town, there have been some pretty heavy and traumatic days as well. We have been the church together. Programmatically, that's where we're at. Financially, people are saying, how's that looking? Well, financially, I would say it this way. We're okay. We're doing all right. Now, giving is down from where it was last year, kind of like you might expect during a pandemic. So we are a bit behind our budget, as usual. The good news is that thanks to prudent spending by our commissions and our board, our pastors and staff, we are in the black at the moment. As always, thank you for your giving. Every bit makes a difference in our ministries. Update on staff and leadership. Well, I would say it this way, since I get to work with them, they're awesome. But I think that you already know that. None of all of this that I've already mentioned could have happened without our excellent, our top-notch board and board leadership. I'm talking about the lay folks who help lead the congregation. And also, of course, our staff and our pastors who have worked tirelessly, faithfully, and I would say intelligently on behalf of the church and keeping Jesus' message moving on. Lastly, I want to say a word about our building project. For those of you who don't know, we at E-Town, before all this started, were on our way, building momentum towards a building project where we will add some significant space. We will renovate our building that is 60 plus years old. And understandably, this process has been slowed quite a bit. So one of the things that happened, though, was that our architect needed to work from home, so he couldn't work with his team, and we are in the design and development phase, which means he's literally putting pen to paper and getting some of these things together. So it's exciting. We look forward to what Tom's going to bring back to us. But the building project hasn't been at a total standstill. As it was reported in our newsletter, the E-Town Borough Zoning Board voted unanimously in favor of the church's application, which also included, and this is really cool, I think this will be news to many of you, part of that included an agreement with Elizabethtown College that is right adjacent to our property here. We share several boundaries together. E-Town College's Board of Trustees also agreed unanimously to sell us a piece of property about an acre big next to the church for the cost. Now, I don't want you to be blown away by the sticker shock here. For the cost of $1. This will allow us and our building project to maintain more of our existing green space, and it will also allow for reciprocity, greater reciprocity between the church and the college and the partnership that is there. It's a wonderful thing. We can share some of that infrastructure so that it's not redundant and is actually helpful. So, even though we're apart and we miss one another deeply, the congregation is doing just about as well as you can imagine it could in times like these. That's our congregation here. But what about this additional congregation? Those of you who are watching from all around the country. Well, I was trying to think about how I could communicate this to you, and one of the things I thought of was that often on Sunday afternoons, after the service is done, my wife Karen and I will go for a run or a walk out on a local rail trail. And more than once, this has happened. We've been running along, huffing and puffing. I've got my hat on, I've got my sunglasses on. Well, I remember one time in particular when a family was coming towards us on bikes from the other direction. I'm running along with Karen, and then all of a sudden the mom in the front of the group jams on the brakes, and she says, "Hey, you're Pastor Greg." I had never met this woman before in my life. She had been watching, though, online. And like I said, believe it or not, that's actually happened more than once on the trail. There are tons of people on this trail. Also in the grocery store. I'm behind my mask, and frozen foods aisle. "Hey, you're that guy, aren't you? Aren't you that guy?" Well, we put two and two together. Yeah, I was that guy. Our staff and our pastors are running into this all over the place. We're hearing of friends who are watching here in town, but also around the country. I'm getting letters from folks like Helen in Phoenix. We're getting texts from people like Bill and Mayo in San Diego. We are genuinely evolving into a congregation that is more than just physically planted here in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. We are becoming a worshiping community that is much larger. And that's where things really start to get interesting in my mind. I want to share a few statistics with you. It's a mouthful, so I need a little drink first. Most years, through spring and summer, we would average about 250 to 260 people a week in person, live worship here in the sanctuary. And I remember one time when Pastor Pam and I were up on what we call the elders bench here, and we hit 20 viewers on our live stream. And Pam and I were blown away. We were practically jumping up and down on the bench because that was kind of a new high. Well, 20 viewers live, and let's say we had about 250 here. What are we at now? Can you see, Pam, Eric? We're at 244 right now, and that's actually a little low during the pandemic. During the pandemic, we have averaged about for anywhere from 250 to 300, and I'll use the word screens instead of viewers or attendees or even worshipers, because we don't know actually how many people are represented by those screens. We know that some of you are sitting down watching with your families. It might be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. So we know that when we see 250 screens, or 244 as the case may be today, we could probably easily say that we have twice that many who are here in this worshiping virtual community together. And we know that you're all across the country. It's amazing. Who would have thought? But here's the thing, it does not end there. It doesn't end there because over the course of the next few hours, and you could even watch this from home if you wanted, over the course of the next few hours, the number of people who watch our service, because it's going to go from being live to being posted on YouTube, will skyrocket. It's going to start gaining by the hundreds. Our Sunday morning worship services during the pandemic are averaging 951 views. So again, we don't know what that math can be extrapolated to, but we know that it's a lot more than 950 people. Some Sundays have actually eclipsed 1,300 views. Who would have thought that COVID would have led us here? What is God doing with us right now? Now, I do want to take a little break here and say a special message to those of you who are joining us and are now part of our community, but maybe have never even stepped foot inside these doors. We are so glad that you found us. And even though we don't get to see one another, none of us get to do hugs and handshakes right now, but we want you to know that you are part of us and that we feel like we are genuinely better when we are all together, even if it is virtually. We want you to, we want you to keep reaching out to us, keep writing us letters, keep posting messages in the live chat, keep sending us texts, keep saying hi on the trail. It's fantastic. And keep letting us know how we can serve you better. That's part of who we are. We practice peace, service, and openness to all. So, that's part number one, the state of our local congregation and the state of our congregation universal. Let's get to the predictions part, okay? Let's do this. All right. So if there's one thing that the pandemic has taught me is that I'm not really very good at predicting the future, or especially how human beings are actually going to react. I think that I'm not the only one, though. I read one article when I was doing a little bit of research for this. I read one article that was posted way back in March when all this started, and it's really cute what it says. Now, it was asking authors and professors to float ideas about what life will look like during and post-pandemic. And again, it's really quaint because listen to this. One person says, "We will come closer together as a society because we'll have a common enemy, COVID-19. Or that we will learn to communicate better with one another. Another one, we will live healthier digital lifestyles. And more exercise and smaller waistlines." Well, some of these have gone all right. How's the rest of that going for us as a country? Not seeing it. Well, since they weren't any good at predicting the future, and I'm not really any good at predicting the future, it got me to thinking about Scripture and some of the what seemed like bold predictions in Scripture. Now, I want to take a look at one for our Scripture today that is Jesus, and you see this a lot in the Gospels. Jesus kind of doing this future forecasting about when he would come again and change the world as we know it. And they thought about it as sort of end-of-the-world moments. And I thought, here we are in a, maybe let's call it a minor end-of-the-world scenario, as oxymoronic as that sounds, that you could have a minor end-of-the-world scenario. But let's think about it that way. Because through the Gospels, Jesus definitely has these predictions over and over and over again. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, guys. This is from Matthew 24, this is just verses 3 to 8. Later, as he, Jesus, was sitting on Mount Olives, his disciples approached and asked him, "Tell us, when are these things going to happen? What will be the sign of your coming, that the time's up?" Jesus said, "Watch out for doomsday deceivers. Many leaders are going to show up with forged identities, claiming, 'I am Christ, the Messiah.' They will deceive a lot of people. When reports come in of wars and rumored wars, keep your head and don't panic. This is routine history. This is no sign of the end. Nation will fight nation and ruler fight ruler over and over. Famines and earthquakes will occur in various places. This is nothing compared to what is coming." This scripture, and many others, quite frankly, in the Gospels, paint the picture that Jesus was to return even before the disciples were going to die. Jesus is making it pretty plain. Well, obviously that didn't happen. As we've preached and taught here before, we did a whole series on apocalyptic and eschatological narrative and scripture. You can go back in the archives and look at that on YouTube. But as we've preached and taught before, there seem to be a number of options for what we can do with scriptures like this now, because it seems like they're incongruent. So one of the things we can do is we think, maybe the writers of Scripture got it wrong. Or maybe Jesus was misunderstood or misquoted. How about maybe all that end of the world talk was really more metaphorical than literal? Last one I'm going to share for just for today is maybe it was intended to mean Jesus' ascent to the heavenly throne. I think that one's a real stretch personally. And to be totally honest, none of these explanations really scratch the itch for me. But here's what does. Looking back through Scripture and reminding ourselves what prophetic language actually is. Now, I'm talking about going all the way back to the Hebrew Bible, all the way back to the Old Testament. Biblical prophecy is not and never were crystal ball predictions about a future that is out of our hands. Pretty much the opposite. Prophecy is a call to action from the people, or for the people from the prophet. Often it's a reprimand to change our ways, personally, but even more likely from these prophets, societally. It's a reminder to be God's people again. Prophets are not heavenly meteorologists with a 5-month or 5-year forecast. Prophetic predictions, if they are predictions, come this way. They come with if-then statements. If you keep ignoring God's ways, if we keep doing it like this, well, then that bad stuff's going to happen. If you touch a hot stove, you're going to get burnt. It's as simple as that. I like the way biblical scholar Peter Enns puts it. He says that prophets want to activate certain behaviors in their audiences, not prognosticate future events. I'll say that again. Prophets want to activate certain behaviors in their audiences, not prognosticate future events. Prophets want us to get it right. They want us to turn things around. They want us to right the ship. Prophecy does not simply seek to predict the future, but to change the present. How are you thinking about it now? So, looking at some of Jesus' words, like the ones we saw just a few minutes ago, the call to action, thank you, Pastor Eric, the call to action is usually about being ready. It's about being adaptive. It's about being faithful. Predicting rain doesn't count. Building arks does. So, I just said that I'm not going to make some predictions, but here we go. Nevertheless, here are some predictions, but they're more like if-then statements. Check this out. Many national church organizations have released surveys and studies they've done in recent weeks and months, and I'll tell you what, it does not look good for Christianity. Not that it looked all that great for Christianity before here in the U.S. According to the congregational consultants at Converge Heartland, quote, urban churches are experiencing a 15 to 25% decline in giving, and rural churches are experiencing a 25 to 35% decline in giving. Another study from Presbyterian Church USA recently released said that church attendance in congregations with fewer than 100 people is decreasing, while attendance in larger churches is increasing. This is changing the religious landscape. And though we don't have any specific numbers for the Church of the Brethren, it also doesn't look good. A huge majority of Brethren congregations are rural and under 100 people. Now, even prior to COVID, the denomination was already bleeding about 1 to 2% of our membership annually. In fairness, that's like most of mainline Protestantism in the U.S. So, many of our sibling churches that were already on pace to close in the coming years, well, that problem is being compounded. And making things even worse, the kind of straight talk that I'm sharing with you right now is seen as overly critical or overly negative in our denomination and is squashed. People simply don't want to talk about it. It's frowned upon, to put it in the nicest of terms. Now, to return to the original question of how the pandemic will change the church in America, it looks like COVID is going to accelerate the closure of many congregations. What do we do with that? To put it into stark if-then prophetic language, I would say it this way. Church, if we don't meet the needs of the world around us, then we will face ruin. It's pretty simple. And again, like Pastor Eric, thank you for being a prophet too, brother. Like Pastor Eric said a few weeks ago, sharing prophetic news can sometimes feel like the worst job ever. So, I've predicted some rain. What are we going to do about building arks? We have no idea when we're going to get back to normal, but we do know that things will never be the same. When we do come back, those of us who meet in person are going to act kind of funny, I think, when we're back together in the building. It's going to be awkward at first. Do I shake do I give a hug? I don't know what to do. And I know that some of you couch surfers are going to stay at home for a while so that you can eat pancakes and drink your coffee while you participate this morning. Wait, I think you dribbled a little there on your PJs. You might want to get that before it sets in. For those of us who will be here, we know that those hugs and handshakes are going to be different. And we do trust that over time that will pass and things will be back to quote-unquote normal. But something will be fundamentally different about who we are. Not just living through the pandemic together while apart, but we know that we're going to be a different congregation. Now, here's what I mean by that. I give this little spiel every time we welcome new members into the life of this congregation. I say that when we welcome new members, they're no longer going to be called new, they're going to be called members, but also that they have just changed us forever, and that could not be better news. Because every time we bring new people in, it literally changes who we are. New gifts, new abilities, new insights, new love. That's just the way it should be. So, as we see evidence that many of our online viewers are locals who have used this as an opportunity to take us for a nice long test drive, thank you. I hope that someday we will meet face to face. I hope that when we're back in-person live worship, that you will join us. I don't know, I think we're even better in person. But what of us as an online community? What ark can we build together there? Well, here's what we know. We know that we have some number in the hundreds, if not thousands, of people who are part of this worshiping community. We know that some of you are buying time until your congregation is back open in worship, and when it does, you're going to go back to that congregation. That is wonderful. We are so glad that you've joined us. We know that Lidditz will go back to worship, and we will miss you, Lidditz. We'll miss you, Pastor Eric. We've been glad to have you here as long as you've been able to join us. Now, we also know that there is some probably very small percentage of our views that actually come from, I don't know what to call this group other than I'm going to put it in modern day language, I'm going to say theological haters, who want to know what crazy E-Town is up to this time in the sermon. And that's fine too. We want to be 100% transparent. We welcome everybody. It's part of being open to all. However, we also know, because you've told us, that many of you are going to stick around. From coast to coast, north to south. You're going to stick around because you can't find the blend of preaching and teaching and music in the community in which you live. And since attending in person will never be an option, you will continue to join us online. Again, wonderful. We're so glad that you have joined us. Now, as we bring this plane down in for a landing, I got dared to tackle this topic. Now, it's only fair if I can dare you back, right? Here's what I dare you to do. I dare you, and I'm looking at the establishment Elizabethtown Church of the Brethren members and congregants here. I dare you to shift how you view our congregation. In many ways, we are no longer Elizabethtown Church of the Brethren, because most of those who join in our virtual worship are not in Elizabethtown. I dare us to think about what our responsibility is to our online sisters and brothers, even when all of this is over. Even if we have, let's just say, 100 screens, which is still a lot of people. That's a lot of people. What will our responsibility be to that part of our congregation? We might have to explore some totally new ways of thinking about being and doing church. Here's one idea. I had somebody reach out to me and ask if we would consider starting an affiliate congregation in their hometown in the Midwest. We've never done it like that before. We've got partner congregations at University Park in Maryland, the D.C. area, and in Cincinnati, Ohio. This is an entirely new way of thinking about being together. What would we do with that? I dare us, E-Town, to double down on hospitality. That's hospitality for those who join us for the first time here in the building, when we reopen eventually, and hospitality to our online congregation. And now, online congregation, I dare you to tell us why you're here. I dare you to tell us how we can serve you and help bring you more fully into community together. Even if you don't live in E-Town, even if you don't live in Lancaster County, even if you don't know how to say Lancaster County, you say it like a reasonable person, Lancaster. That's how I said it before I came. But hey, they took me in, they'll take you in too. We'll take you just like you are. I also dare you, online community, to engage. You know, one of my biggest regrets during our pandemic programming that I talked about a little earlier in the sermon is that more people have not taken advantage of it. We have fantastic teachers for our Bible studies, for our Sunday schools, and they're coming from all over the country, all over the world. This is not just for quote-unquote E-Town people only. What you can do is you can rewind this, not now, of course. You can rewind it, go back to the beginning, and you could see the announcements that run in slides before the worship starts. You can also go to our website, etowncob.org. Pretty simple. It's all there. Check it out. Christianity has been through moments far more troubling than this. We know that. What we also know is that oftentimes these moments change us for the better. Phyllis Tickle, one of the great theologians and spiritual minds of a generation, and one of the best names, you got to admit. Phyllis Tickle wrote a book in 2008 called The Great Emergence. The idea at the heart of this book was the historical observation that every 500 years, the historical, institutional Christian church meets the needs of a changing world by totally revamping how church is done. It reinvents itself. It has a grand reopening of sorts. Think about it, just real quick. You had Pentecost that started the Christian church. Then about 500 years after that, the best pope, Gregory the Great, brought the church out of the Dark Ages. Then 500 years after that, we had the Great Schism. And then about 500 years after that, in 1517, Martin Luther triggered the Protestant Reformation. In each of these cases, three things happened. A new and more dynamic, more relevant form of Christianity emerged. The church organization changed significantly. The institution throws off the stuff that's no longer working, that's restricting its growth. And number three, tremendous growth. Wait a minute. 1517. Gee, if my math is right, we're 3 years overdue. Are we ready to build the ark? Are we ready to be the next emergent church that shares who Jesus was and is for all time? And if we saw that coming, would we welcome it? I dare you, I dare us to do more than just predict rain. Let's build an ark.
Sadness from wherever you've been. Come broken-hearted, let rescue begin. Come find your mercy, O sinner, come kneel. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far to lay down your hurt, lay down your heart. Come as you are. There's hope for the hopeless and all those who've strayed. Come sit at the table, come taste the grace. There's rest for the weary, rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can cure. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart. Come as you are, come as you are. Fall in God's arms, come as you are. There's joy for the morning, oh sinner, be still. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart. Come as you are. Come as you are. Come as you are.
Well, as always, well, I shouldn't say always, but as has become our most recent tradition, we're going to have a sermon talk-back time after the postlude, and Pastor Pam, Pastor Eric, and I are all going to be up here. So if you have questions for any one of us specifically or generally, please, we represent a pretty wide degree of experience and background and ministry focus, and so I think that would be really interesting to hear where each of us might come from on different issues here. We did see one thing about my letting you all down and not playing the piano. So, Alex, I think you're going to need to give me a quick tutorial next week, and maybe we could work at that. Lastly, announcement-wise, we have a musical piece that I think you'll find particularly relevant, and you may have seen it before. It's Into the Unknown, and how fitting that we think about and celebrate what it is to be going into the unknown. This is what God's people have always done. We never knew what was going to happen. We never knew exactly what the future would hold. But as God's people, we bravely step forward. So my good word for you today, for us today, is may we step into the future with courage and compassion. Friends, go in peace.
It's I don't need something new. I'm afraid of what I'm risking if I follow you into the unknown. Into the unknown. Into the What do you want? 'Cause you've been keeping me awake. Are you here to distract me so I make a big mistake? Or are you someone out there who's a little bit like me? Who knows deep down I'm not where I'm meant to be? Every day's a little harder as I feel your power grow. Don't you know there's part of me that longs to go into the unknown? Into the unknown. Into the unknown. Whoa, are you out there? Can you know me? Can you feel me? Can you show me? Where are you going? Don't leave me alone. How do I follow you into the
Wow.
It's a classic.
How awesome. Yeah, it is becoming a classic.
That is, is that the most viewed video
It
on the
might
YouTube
be.
page?
It might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do y'all think? I haven't seen a lot of questions come across yet, but I'm hoping they will.
So, you know, a thought that I had was, as you're preaching the sermon, there's this beautiful thing happening. My wife's cousin, Jennifer Half,
Yeah.
is joining in from Singapore. You know, and
Oh,
so,
wow.
I mean, it just really hits this idea about, you know, what is this community? What is it becoming? What will it become? To have her tune in from such a distance, I think it's incredible.
Well, and the connections that we have. You know, I think as I was looking at the tamarind tree in Nigeria, in Garkita, and the plaque beneath that talks about being strangers no more, that we are brothers and sisters in the household of God. And,
Right.
you know, I think related, blood related or not, we are related and we are family.
Right.
So what does that mean to you across geographical space, Pam?
You know, this is a whole new thing, isn't it? You know, I think we're beginning to see little bits and pieces as we go along. I think back to March and April, we had no idea where we would be today. And I still don't think we know exactly where we're going to be in November or December or even beyond that. But God has been with us, and it's not always easy, but we're in it together. And I don't know where we're going exactly.
So Pam, you are our, like, chief encourager around here. Pam is the CEO of encouragement and faithfulness. So.
Yeah.
Chancellor of Positivity.
That's right. And optimism. Yeah, that's
I thought you guys were going to talk about age, and then I was going to say, oh, maybe.
So what encouragement do you have for those who are like, hey, I'm in Oregon, I'm in Singapore, I'm in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Like, for us here at E-Town, it would be really easy to be like, okay, COVID's over, we're going to go back to business as usual here. This is our congregation, those who we are eyeball to eyeball with in this sanctuary. What word of encouragement would you have for those folks who can't make it?
Can't make it physically. And I think it still gets back to finding those connections, even across the miles, even around the world. You know, finding those ways that we can connect and be that household of God together, the children of God. I don't know if that's a word of encouragement because it's not really clear the details and specifics, but, you know, I think we have seen as we look back that God has been with us, and God will be with us, and will make a way to make it work.
Yes, and I guess a question I would have for the two of you, you've been at this a little longer than I have. I did not grow up in the church, and so, change isn't as threatening to me. And I will say this, the thing I appreciated about the sermon today is that we are way overdue to start having authentic, honest conversation about the state of the church. I think some of the statistics that you shared today, Greg, are really important to just name and come up with some sort of a response to an ever-changing reality in the church. The way we've done it, or the way the church has done it for decades, is clearly not working for a lot of people anymore.
Right.
And so the question becomes as well, do we just kind of coast by and what will be, or do we get creative? Do we go out? And so, this is something I think all pastors struggle with today is, change being a threatening word for so many in the church. What you talked about today would be deeply disturbing for some folks. And so as leaders, and I'd love to hear from the two of you, what do we do to help to minister to educate folks in our congregations that are so resistant to any kind of change? Again, folks that maybe are thinking more about the nouns, like the pews or the organ or the piano or the screen in a negative way, or just in general, these new ways of doing ministry together. How do we support them as well as reach out? What's the plan there?
Yeah. I got a thought. You want to go first?
No, go ahead.
All right. Well, to me, it comes down to a word that I used in the sermon several times, which is responsibility. Mm-hmm. What is my responsibility? If I view myself as a member of this congregation, which I am as a pastor,
right?
But no matter whether I'm a pastor or whether I'm, quote unquote, just a member, what is my responsibility? What is our responsibility to the church and to people? Mm-hmm. And so if I think about what my responsibility is, then it's not so much about, well, what do I like? What do I want to do? What feels good to me? Then it becomes more about into the unknown, yeah. Right? It becomes more about, all right, what's our core message here? Who are we? What are we about? And so if I'm more interested in the message than the means by which that message gets communicated, then the means don't mean as much.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Responsibility.
Well, and I think what I would say, kind of taking off on that, is that what are our core values here? Are they the pews? Are they the screen? I think core values are community. They're sharing the love of God with the world. Mm-hmm. I think there are core values that when we get down to it, they go all the way back to the early church.
Sure.
This has nothing to do with the Reformation. We're going back to the core. And I think that's what we really need to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think my big thing, and this gets at our overall theme for this morning, is that the church really it's quite content being a noun. Mm-hmm. I think it's a little harder to be the verb, right? Especially today when we are so hung up on some of these things. And so I am grateful for the prophetic message of what can we do in the here and now to again reinforce the ark so that we can stay afloat, so that ministry can continue to thrive and flourish. And then how do we as a collective community, as the church, both noun and verb, how are we comfortable with changing, with just changing our overall style or method in a way that is reaching people today in real ways?
We've been forced to change these past months. There's been no choice, and we've done it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But it's interesting, we could have easily chosen not to do it.
We could have, yeah. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't feel like the responsible thing, does it? You talked about responsibility. Yeah.
So here's a question from John David Bowman. Are we redefining community? What is being lost and what is being gained in our new virtual reality? Oh. I love it.
You have an answer?
Well, not necessarily. I think there are a lot of answers. This is a good conversation for an hour, but what I'm immediately reminded of is that, again, there's nothing new under the sun, so to speak. Like, this has been happening for a long time. Even if we just go back 100 years and think about Church of the Brethren community, that was very tight, very insular.
Yeah.
And then post World War II, we built buildings like this that are not Church of the Brethren buildings by strict definition. We started to reach out more into the community, and that brought with it the good and the bad, I think historians would argue, right? We became a little more lukewarm. We became a little more, whatever is okay, so long as we keep people coming in the doors. But we also brought a lot of people in the doors. I mean, that's just one change. So inevitably, community is going to change time and time again. How are we going to respond to it?
Well, we learned to do Zoom rooms really quickly.
Some more quickly than others.
Yeah.
I still work at that sometimes.
I think a big part of the answer to that question, again, is creativity and good discernment. It was a good word from today's sermon. Yeah, this level of discerning how we move forward, and in a way that attempts to bring everyone along with us, right? I think creativity, especially in the Church of the Brethren, because since I've been with the COB since Heather and I were married in 2009. I think I joined 2010. There's so many things that there's a lot of traditions. We have our heroes that were really, we were just hung up on these heroes of the past. I am meeting heroes of the now, at things like Young Adult Conference and National Youth Conference, National Junior High Conference. So really allowing some of the rising generations a place at the table. Because my hope is that even the kids listening today to the children's stories, to the youth that are watching this live stream, you deserve a place at the table to chart the course, to help us, decide what is this arc going to even look like. What is the conversation moving forward from the rising generations? And then really for some of us older members, when are we willing to let go of the things we hold so tight in our hands? When can we just learn to hold it, not throw it away or drop it, hold it a little looser, just hold it a little differently than before, for the sake of, again, ministering and reaching people, which is what we're called to do.
Yeah.
So it's hard stuff. I mean, it's hard stuff to talk about, but yeah.
What questions do you have? I told you to bust my chops. I said, listen closely, and then hammer me at the end during the talk back.
I mean, and I think a lot of this boils down, it sounds really good. It does. It sounds like, I think for some of us, it's a little scary, it's a little intimidating. For some of us, it's very exciting. But then I think the thing we need to think about is, well, what's the plan? Like, what is the plan moving forward? And a lot of folks are going to look to leaders in churches to kind of chart that territory. What is the mission? What is the message? And how do we get that out? Like, how do we take that and move it forward? And so, I mean, we do need to have some sort of a plan. I think the compelling vision has been a helpful step in that process and getting some of that together for us as the Church of the Brethren, at least. But I mean, again, in a golden rule in psychology, past behavior best predicts future behavior, and it takes a lot of work to change that.
So I'm gonna, since I keep telling you to hammer me, and you're just not. So I'm gonna come at you a little bit.
Okay.
I think the compelling vision was an awesome process.
Yeah.
That didn't really get us where we need to be. I know the people who worked on it, super smart, hearts in the best places. But I think, and I don't blame that committee whatsoever.
Right.
I think the church has just been the denomination has been so troubled by our emotional baggage, I would probably say, that we've had from the past, that here's what we do. Right, here's what we do. We consistently disempower leaders. And any leader who dares to poke her or his head up and say, how about we try this, is quickly tamped back down and then pushed aside.
Right.
And so I'm curious, if the Church of the Brethren could learn how to embrace a healthier model of leadership so that we can actually entrust our leaders to propose ideas so that we can then move forward. And I think we've done a good job. E-Town has modeled that in a lot of ways. E-Town has not been free of controversy in its history. A lot of controversy in this congregation's history. And we, I think, over the last 15, 20 years have really moved into a new place where we're willing to say, you don't have to be wrong for me to be right. How are we going to do this together? What's most important to us?
And part of that is trusting enough to work together. I think.
What do we do when there's no trust, though?
Yeah.
I have a hard time trusting the denomination right now.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people in the denomination have a hard time trusting me. What
mean,
do we do with that?
Yeah.
You know, when the COB finally makes the news in some larger Christian publications, it's about how a peace church is fighting. You know, there's a lot of irony in a headline like that. And again, I think you're absolutely right. How do we listen to our leaders who are stepping up and saying, look, let's try this, let's move in this direction, without quickly silencing them, right? Because, I mean, I like to think that we pastors, we know what we're doing. We've trained really hard. We work to discern.
Now that's fascinating, Eric.
Yeah, like you know. But again, there is such a resistance to change, even in our 300-year-plus old Anabaptist church, Peace Church.
That was built on change.
That was built on change, right? And so I do like these conversations. This is such a bigger conversation, I think, that we need to have about. Again, moving us ahead, bringing more people to the table, sharing in that spirit of openness, and really sort of leaning into what change is like and how do we get through it together. But we have become a toxic denomination. And so if you go on any social media site and read on different forums, different pages, it is brutal, it's ugly. I mean, it's amazing to me how cruel some people are in their conversations with one another. Why is the Church of the Brethren contributing to poisoning the well and not being some sort of an antidote? And so that's something that we should always remember too and have.
Jason's telling us our time
Jason's
is up.
like,
I was just laughing, Jason, because your head is in the picture.
I wish folks could see Jason right now. He is.
There he is. Well, Jason gave us our 15-minute cutoff time. We could always return to conversations like this later. Thank you both for reflecting a little bit. I'll wait for the nasty email from you later. That's really gonna really gonna critique the sermon.
I mean,
that's fine. We'll just do that later.
No, I thought again it was a great sermon, mainly because I think for us we should shift in our seats a little uncomfortably, as I think someone in the chat face the music, right? Like we need to. We need to pretend. We can't. We got to let up the game and pretending that we're immune from some of these other conversations other churches, other denominations are having. We have to get back to work. And I think we as a Church of the Brethren are something a lot of folks, these Anabaptist ideals that we embody, or at least seek to embody, a lot of people they want to be a part of that. We just got to get back to it.
Authentic.
Peace church fighting doesn't get a lot of work done. So
Quotable. Nice.
Right.
Thank you all, as always, for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Next week, Pam, do you want to give us a preview of what the Sermon on Demand is?
LGBTQ. I was challenged.
All right.
Personally, yeah.
You were so somebody called Pam out and said,
Yeah.
I want to know what you think of LGBTQ plus issues.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Same time, same channel. See you all next week.
Yep.
See you next week.